All right, welcome back, everybody. It is another day of NHL DFS. It is Thursday already, August 6th. Got another 5-game slate to talk through, hockey all day. So we'll get into it in just a minute. As always, got a couple things for everyone. Going to share what happened last night. Hopefully it worked out for you guys pretty well. If not, we get another shot here in a couple hours. So short memory if you didn't have a good night. That's always important in NHL DFS. Saw some familiar names up at the top last night. Testosterone, B. Kreider, I think Dollar Bill was up there. So was a good night for some of the better players. We'll pull up the lineup builder in just a second. Today, we do have free projections. So this is a model that Alex and I sort of came up with together, mostly Alex, so you know it's good. I had a little bit of input into these projections, but these are free today for everyone. So if you're thinking about joining, there you go. This is one tool you would get. Projections, I would suggest adding on Fantasy Cruncher. If you do get an Awesemo Plus subscription, if you do want to get one as well, we still have a promo going on. I think it expires tomorrow at 11:59 p.m. So you got a little bit, but might as well just sign up now. Promo code NHL is back, 50% off your first month of the NHL monthly pass. So if you lock in for a month, you get 50% off that first month. You can cancel anytime you want if you don't like it. But I think you'll enjoy it. We've got the top stacks tool. That's a really popular tool in every sport. Looks like it is pretty much the most viewed tool that we have on the site, including the projections. Kind of synthesizes everything, sums up the slate in just one page. You can target under-owned stacks. You can target. You can fade over-owned stacks. I like to look at it, and I reference it on the show all the time. Ownership projections go with that as well. We've got Premium Slack. That's been really helpful for news, not just me putting out stuff, but a bunch of other subscribers doing their part to make sure we get the correct line combinations, make sure we swap off guys that have been out. There's been a bunch of late scratches, and with only one game starting at the lock time, I think it's even more valuable. So a lot of cool tools. If you want to use that promo code, NHL is back. You've got about another day. And again, you can only use that on NHL Monthly. Is FC still messed up? So, yeah, I had to redo a bunch of my lineup. Or not redo, but I had to make edits. I had a bunch of like fourth line one-offs and stuff like that yesterday. And I didn't realize until right before the slate started. So I just went and hand edited and tried to increase some correlation in some lineups. But there is an issue going on with if you use power play stacks because of the new stacking tool. So maybe you just hand build. If you want to do like full power play stacks or onslaughts, maybe you just hand build to make sure you know exactly what you're getting. I would like to get some power play stacks in today. So I'll probably end up hand building like 10 or 15 lineups out of my 150, just to get a little bit more diversified, get a little bit of a different line of construction rather than just like the double stacks that a lot of people run. So yeah. I mean, all you can do is email FC support. They're obviously aware of it. So hopefully they can get that fixed. Obviously a lot going on for them, a lot going on for us. So we'll try to get that fixed as soon as possible. SuperDraft is the sponsor of the show today. As always, I took a beating the last couple of days, so if you played over there, you nothing's wrong with FC. Just they have a bug with their, if you select power plays on their new stacking tool, they'll get it figured out. They're pretty good about getting stuff fixed very quickly. Entered in my SuperDraft contest for today. I think it's a 3 max. They have a 3 max $10 that I think I'm already in. So you can't see it on the screen. They got a 3 max $1 as well. So something for everyone over there. And the best part about SuperDraft is that you don't have to worry about salaries. You can play all the studs if you'd like. You can play all the 1.75, 1.8x multiplier guys. But if you can get those cheaper guys, well, they would be cheaper on other sites, but like sometimes I saw Brendan Gallagher yesterday had like a 1.5x multiplier. It didn't work out for me, but you can find some really good values on SuperDraft when you're talking about NHL. So I'll quick look at, and that was my placeholder lineup, so you can have that if you guys want to use it. I think I just clicked on all the 1x multiplier guys, but like Austin Matthews, obviously one of the better players in all of DFS. He's got a 1x multiplier, so you just get whatever his points are that he accrues on SuperDraft. But then you scroll down a little bit, like, wow, Bill Carlson, 1.75x. I know it's not a great matchup against St. Louis, but he could still score a goal, and that's massive. So you can find some really solid players that will get you good multipliers. Nylander at 1.5x, Marchessault 1.65. There's always some really good value players, and these guys oftentimes go overlooked because some people, not the people watching this, but other people that maybe just came across SuperDraft might just click the top guys because there's no salary. But still a lot of skill involved in SuperDraft. I'm having fun playing over there. Still made a little bit of money. Played some golf this morning. There was overlay there. There might be overlay for NHL. So it's appealing for a number of reasons, and especially if you are just looking to get some higher EV contests. If you're trying to grind out a profit in DFS, it's a great place to start. Promo code Awesemo10 is how you get 10 free dollars in SuperDraft cash when you deposit $20 or more. If you use that same promo code Awesemo10, you get and you deposit $100 or more, you get 20 free dollars. So good deal. SuperDraft is giving you free cash when you sign up through our promo code. I think I mentioned, NHL projections are free. I linked those in chat if anybody's looking for those. Let's look at lineup study. I like to look at the $10 usually. That's the one I play. That's the one I'm trying my hardest to win every night. B. Kreider took it down, 150 lineups from B. Kreider per usual. Now got the 10K top prize, but only profited $8,900. And I think FC did fix their profit here. A couple of the MLB contests were having issues. B. Kreider, testosterone. You guys kind of know these names. We've been going through them all year. B. Kreider. I've been doing some like tracking on my own, and I think he's made about as much money as anyone playing NHL DFS this year. I don't track every tournament, but over the long break we had, I did take a look and kind of manually track some of these guys, and he was about as good as anyone. So good player to study for playing NHL. He doesn't often do the 3-3 stacking that we see some other players do. That's a good idea. That's a good idea, Eric. I might do an article on B. Kreider's NHL lineups. It's a little bit unique. So without seeing his lineup yet, I'm guessing he went 3-2-1. McDavid, Draisaitl, Archibald. Okay. So, Nugent Hopkins. I'm guessing he went... So I'm guessing this is a one-off lineup, actually. It is a 3-2-1. McDavid, Archibald, Nugent Hopkins being his 3. Garland, Stepan being his 2. Ended up with Ekman Larson there. That wasn't the key. The key was Weber. And then the one-off Nugent Hopkins. So rarely gets duped lineups, and that's the appeal of the 3-2-1. Plus, he's really good at picking one-offs and these low-owned guys. So just 2 lineups were duped out of 150. That's pretty good on a 5-game slate. And he played a ton of McDavid. He played a ton of Draisaitl, and still to only have that many dupes, there's something to be said for that. let's quick look at his exposures. Jesus, 76% McDavid, 74% Nugent Hopkins, 68% Archibald. I don't know. He's probably not a guy I would ever go 68% on. Not a real high upside player. But 2,600 got him to the correct lineup construction, so I can't really argue with the process here. Ton of Blackhawks, ton of Oilers, and it worked out to the tune of a 10K top prize win. Testosterone, more of a spread out approach here. Goes heavy on a couple defensemen, had a bunch of Weber, 38% of Weber, who was only 6%, so that was a huge edge for him. Even with Yossi and Clefbaum not doing a ton, still ended up getting second place. YCMMAT, I don't know exactly how he pronounced it. 20K winner the other day, he finished 11th. But actually, man, this tournament is tough. Finished 11th, but lost $50. I had basically the same amount of cashing lineups, and I got 560. I think I had a couple in the top 20, and so decent cashes. Nothing huge. Live to fight another day in this tournament. That's basically all you can ask for if you're not banking it. If you're not one of these guys up here. I think Testosterone took down, the 33 and the 1,500 too. So pretty good night all around there. Let's talk about these games for today. Different start times for a lot of these games. The Wild had been playing at the 10:30 Eastern spot for the first couple games, Wild Canucks. But they're going to get an early game today. So this slate will lock at 2:30 Eastern. If you're playing on DraftKings, it's 2:30 Eastern. If you're playing on FanDuel, they're including the first couple games. I don't know why they didn't before. Maybe they didn't want to lock at the same time, but now it appears they don't really care that they're locking at the same time as DK. And then SuperDraft is locking a little bit later. Let's see, they lock in 6 hours and 43 minutes. So they're locking with the, I think it's going to be a 3-game slate. Let me make sure. Yeah, 5:30 Eastern, 5:30 my time. I believe that's 4:30, or I'm sorry, 6:30 Eastern. Yep, that's what it is with the St. Louis and Vegas game. So just be aware of the start times. Nothing crazy for DK and FanDuel. They're linked up today, so it's just going to make it a little bit harder at lock if we get some late changes, but nothing we can't deal with. It's going to be Markstrom and possibly Stalock, possibly Dubnyk. Stalock gave up a handful of goals last game. Now, his team wasn't really doing him any favors. Vancouver had I was looking at on natural stat trick just to see line combos and time on ice and stuff like that. I like to check through all that, especially in the playoffs. And man, they had 9 minutes of power play time for their top unit. I think they had 3 or 4 power plays in the first period, and that continued throughout the game for Vancouver. Minnesota had their fair share of power plays as well. But can't really put that game on Stalock too much. Fiala tried to come back, tried to lead a comeback, got 2 late goals. But it was Stahl, Fiala, and Parise for a decent amount of time. At some point, they went to that. And I'm kind of anticipating they keep that, Stahl, Fiala, and Parise, and just stack up this top line. And they go something like Eriksson Ek, Conan, Foligno, or Eriksson Ek, Foligno, Greenway. Yeah, lots of power plays all around now, but the totals are still really low. So maybe just a blip on the radar. I'm not exactly sure what to do with that. I think pretty good chance we see some changes from what we have on the screen here. So I'm going to crunch some lineups with Parise in Greenway's slot, and then whether it's Eriksson Ek, Greenway, Foligno, Cunnin, whatever combo of that it ends up being, I don't think that's going to be a line I really love for DFS. And it is pretty scary for Vancouver 1 if you're trying to play them. The Pedersen, Miller, Besser line. That line has really good numbers together. Haven't heard anything on Toffoli. And then I'm trying to think who the other guy was that was out for Vancouver the other night, or if there was another one. But I suppose it's maybe possible Toffoli plays. Again, I haven't heard anything on him. Horvat was really aggressive last game, so maybe this opens up for the Horvat line if Eriksson Ek and whoever else is going up against Pedersen, Miller, and Besser. And I still think Vancouver 1 is probably... Oh, yeah, Furland. Furland unfit to play. Good call. Yeah, left the bubble. That's not a great sign for a guy who's had a ton of concussion issues. Looking at Vancouver 1 here, they look to be a little bit on their own on the top stack tool. The matchup isn't going to be fantastic, but they are fantastic at creating 5-on-5 opportunities, and they're fully correlated on the power play. So I think I'm going to be over the field on Vancouver despite what I believe is going to be a pretty tough matchup. And then Stahl, Fiala, Greenway / Stahl, Fiala, Parisi. Not too worried about the ownership because I think a lot of people will play Greenway with that line. And I'm going to try to just jam in Parisi. Worst case scenario, you either swap before the game starts or you just play the top power play because there's been a bunch of penalties so far in the series. You can play Suter or Spurgeon with them. Hard to get excited about any of the depth lines on either team. So it's mostly going to be the top two lines, and then I like Horvat, like mixing in Horvat in Vancouver stacks, or one-offing him if that's the kind of line of construction you're going with. If you're going with more of a B. Kreider style 3-2-1, I think Horvat's a pretty awesome one-off. Hughes at 5,200. Gonna try to limit the amount of Hughes I played outside of Vancouver stacks. And then again, I like Dumba even more than what I did last time. I think a couple days ago I said I was on him. He got an assist. He's 4,500. His minutes jumped way up last game. I wish he was on power play 1, but because he's not on the top power play, that makes it much easier to play him as a one-off. He's not going to be as popular, but I think a pretty high upside play for 4,500 here. So if he's going to play over 20 minutes, and he played, I think, 24 last game, if he's going to do that, yeah, I'm all over that for 4,500, a guy that we already like for DFS getting a minutes bump, and he should get a minutes bump. Nudabara will draw in tonight versus Leafs. Dean Kukan, healthy scratch. There you go. The hard-hitting news here. If you want to go to Edler at 5,700, that'd be more just to avoid a dupe in like a 3-3, I think. He's not that great of a play if he's not getting top power play minutes and he's priced like he is. So that's my concern with Edler. I think this one's pretty good to move on. Let's go to Washington and Philadelphia. 3.1 implied total for the Caps. 2.9 for the Flyers. Holtby and Brian Elliott. And one of the higher totals on the slate for the Caps. No Lars Eller for them. I will update that next projections run that we have. Ty says maybe Toffoli is back tonight. Well, at least we'll know before the game starts. So that's a good sign. If Toffoli's in, it would probably be, I'm guessing they would go back to Toffoli with the Pedersen line, move Besser down to Horvat's line, and then it'll be Horvat, Besser, Pearson, then move Eriksson down as they should. Yeah, Ferland was the concussion guy getting into fights. That's, yeah. This is another game for Philadelphia where it's happened a bunch of times throughout the season where I don't understand why the total against them is so high. Like, They took an average amount of penalties this season. They killed them off at an okay rate. Like maybe the Caps just get a ton of respect from Vegas. That could be the case. Caps lost their first game, and then Philadelphia beat Boston, and so now they're getting a quote unquote home game. I would think Philadelphia is going to go balls to the walls to try to win this thing and try to get a top seed. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't after they beat Boston there. So, and I guess Washington still could get whatever seed. Yeah, Brian Elliott. So the goalie, right? But like, how much does the goalie matter in a one-game sample? I suppose you could argue very little. I guess the goalie matters less over the long term, right? Maybe I have that backwards. Anyways, so like when I look at the teams, how they match up at 5-on-5, Couturier, Giroux, Voracek, if they're playing this game all out, like if they're playing to win this, which I think they will be, they're going to go up against Kuznetsov, Ovechkin, Wilson. That's one of the worst defensive lines on the slate, arguably the worst. And then Couturier line is awesome, like one of the best lines in hockey. So, and certainly one of the better shutdown lines. So looking at the ownership here for like Ovi and Wilson and Kuznetsov, if their ownership's going to be above double digits, I think that's kind of a mistake. I guess you can play Ovi as a one-off because you always can, because of the power play. But I'm much more interested in Washington 2 if I'm going to the Caps full stack. And then I love Philadelphia 1. They're cheap. They're not priced like Boston 1, so you don't need like a Boston 1 type performance for them to be in the winning lineup, even if they don't go completely nuts. But great 5-on-5 spot, good power play spot. Like we don't think Holtby's that good anymore, do we? Like I don't think so. You can toss in Provorov with them. I'm gonna have a lot of just Philadelphia 1 and hope they can get it going at 5-on-5. Maybe chip in on the power play as well. Then you get the Hayes line going up against Backstrom, Vrana, and Oshie. I really prefer the Backstrom line in that matchup. If that's going to be a thing, Hayes Konechny hasn't been very good at 5-on-5 defensively this season. So pretty clear what I want to go to here. Think I'm going to be over on Couturier pretty comfortably, and then under on Washington 1. I don't get it. I really don't get the play there outside of just getting really different, but you're not even getting that different if our ownership projections are correct. Carlson, forgot to mention. So Eller is out. Looks like we've got Boyd slotting in between Hagelin and Kovalchuk. That's pretty big downgrade, even though like Washington is a third line with Eller there that I think is probably playable on this slate, with Boyd or whoever else, whether it's Dowd, getting moved up. I don't exactly know, but no thanks. Carlson, not sure about him. He's questionable. So keep an eye out for that one. What you could do is just, if you're crunching out a bunch of lineups, you can just leave them in there and swap off. There's other options. There's other options for a little bit cheaper later. So if you want, like, if you think it's a good spot for Washington power play, or you think I'm an idiot and Washington 1's the play and you want to add in Carlson, you could always swap down to Orlov, change the rest of your lineup around. Late swapping has been key so far in terms of just not playing a lot of dead lineups. So we're gonna have chalk in the late game anyways. If Carlson's in, you might get him at like 2-3%. I think I'm comfortable playing Carlson by himself, especially at the ownership, if he does indeed play. Philippe Myers had 9 shot attempts in like 17 minutes in their first game. He's kind of a guy that always pops a little bit for me. I like to look at like last 5, last 10. shot attempts and stuff like that. And so he's popped for me at times. 3,100 here. He's a guy I'll probably take some flyers on when I'm punting. Sanheim's the same way. Sanheim will probably be a little bit more popular because he's getting that secondary power play time here. I think that's good for this one. Elliott's cheap, 7,300, but the Caps are kind of a terrible team. We've talked about it, like going back to when Homer Cleese and I used to do the shows together. Washington, they're scary because, first of all, their power play is very good. Although it wasn't elite this season, they were at like 19%. So middle of the pack this season. I'm not sure exactly why that would be. Anyways, they have Ovi. They're pretty efficient with the shots they put on. So you're probably not still looking at a ton of value from Elliott at 7,300, even though it is a winnable game. Like, the Caps don't often put up 30-plus shots. And when they do, they're usually scoring 3-4 goals. So I don't think Elliott's a phenomenal play, even though you like to get cheap goalies, especially over on DraftKings. Golden Knights and the St. Louis Blues. Marc-Andre Fleury expected to go against Jordan Binnington. The Blues lost a heartbreaker their first time out against Colorado. The Kadri goal with 0.1 remaining. So they're trying to play catch up here. Vegas, they won their first game. Big explosion in the third period to beat Dallas. Nias, stack against the Blues, stack against your team? Come on. No way. I mean, I love Vegas, but I don't think you just blindly stack against the Blues, no. Although this game doesn't matter, so who knows? It doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, but I just said I liked Philly 1 a ton, so kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth there. If the Blues treat this game like a normal game, and again, 2.7 implied total for both teams, Fleury, Binnington expected to go. O'Reilly, Perron, Sanford, we would think would go up against Carlson and Stone. That's who I would put them up against. Depending on the team, though, we've seen at times teams hard matching against Marceau Smith. It just depends on what the team prefers. So I don't exactly know what the Blues are going to do here. You got a pretty cheap St. Louis 1 line that I'm interested in. Just because I think this game is probably going to go overlooked for the most part. Low total. Actually, St. Louis 2 looks to be a little bit over-owned. St. Louis 1, a little bit over-owned, but nothing too crazy for them. I wish I knew which line was going to match or if they were going to match at all, but we don't exactly know. So Carlson, Stone, I love when they're together. Don't love Chandler Stevenson up there, but at least he's cheap for 3K. I'll be taking some shots on Vegas here. It's hard for me to decipher which line I want to make a major stand on. In terms of, let's see. So let's look at like Stastny's ownership. Where are you at, Paul Stastny? And then Carlson's. They're pretty close together, so I don't know. I don't think I'm going to have a major stance on Vegas. I love playing good lines at low ownership, and I think, this is a really good duo, Carlson and Stone. So if you're looking for a two-man stack, maybe you go there for low ownership. The Shen line, they've had a good track record together. Shen, Schwartz, Tarasenko, going back for a number of years now, and they're not too highly owned. Although, man, I think our top stack tool ownership might be a little bit off because I'm only seeing like 6-7% ownership on them. So maybe we just got an ownership update or something, but they look pretty low owned to me. So I like St. Louis 1 a little bit better than 2. Pietrangelo at 6,300 is fine if you go into either of the top 2 lines. So I guess he correlates okay. Top power play with 2 guys from each of the top 2 lines. Shea Theodore at 6,100 is a guy I'm going to target, but more as a one-off. Just really good talent, and kind of does a little bit of everything. Blocks shots, takes a bunch of shots, top power play time. We saw Nate Schmidt have a huge game last time out. Schmidt or Martinez, I usually just whatever guy's lower owned is who I usually have more of when they're priced right next to each other, because they're both essentially getting the same role, although Schmidt usually gets a few more minutes than Martinez. So not going to be a super heavily targeted game for my exposures, I don't think. Right now, I'm looking at Pietrangelo around like 20%. I'm looking at Shea Theodore around 20 as well. And then what else do we got here? Yeah, a little bit of St. Louis 1, and basically a split on Vegas's top 2 lines, but neither of them going to be super heavily owned for me. Like I've only got like 6% Mark Stone. St. Louis is a tough matchup if they're going to play this one straight up. They're defending Cup champs, so maybe they think they don't need to get a top seed here because they did it last year without a top seed. But I'm not exactly sure what their mindset is coming into this game, having lost the first one. It's possible Binnington doesn't even start. We saw Kudobin go for Dallas yesterday, so it's going to depend on the team, and I don't have a real great read on this game. And even if I did, these are 2 really tough defensive teams. As a line, I like Vegas 2 more than Vegas 1. If Allen goes, load up on Vegas. Yeah, that's me. Germ6908. That is my username. Tommy Nation 1. All right, let's go to the last couple of games, then we will get out of here. Toronto, Columbus, 2.9 applied total for the Maple Leafs, 2.4 for the Blue Jackets. It is Freddy Anderson and Korpisalo for the Jackets. Would assume you're pretty safe in playing both of these goalies and not having to swap them out. Been a pretty evenly contested series, a couple shutouts on both sides, but I think there were empty netters in both games, so maybe a lot closer than what the games actually ended up with. Dubois is going to be with Atkinson and Tessier. I believe Tortorella even said that they were making changes, and that's what they were in practice Wednesday, which was yesterday. So I do agree with the lines that we've got up here. I wish Bjorkstrand was up there with Dubois and Atkinson. I think that'd be a pretty fun line for DFS. But I do like that Atkinson's up there. Maybe they can start to get him going. The power play correlation for Columbus sucks. Werenski and Jones both on the top power play. I prefer Jones if I could only play one of them in one lineup, but like all the top power play guys, like you can play Columbus too here, right? But do you really want to play Alex Wenberg, guy who like his upside is like his realistic upside is probably like 2 assists and maybe somehow gets you a shot on a goal. He's just not an aggressive player. And the Blue Jackets are always cheap. Bjorkstrand would probably be my favorite one-off forward from Columbus, but he's also the most expensive forward. So, yeah, Nyquist, Bjorkstrand, mini stack, sure. You could do that. Yeah, Wenberg, empty net goals. Oh man. What else did I have here? Toronto is going to be popular. I don't know that I kind of agree with some of this ownership. I guess Matthews isn't that high, and then his line mates are usually kind of lower than him. Marner's not too high. So maybe I should walk that back. They're not that popular. I think outside of Calgary 1, there's no real clear chalk. In fact, Washington 1 looks to be pretty popular too. So they're creeping up there. So maybe you shouldn't be that worried about playing Toronto. Matthews and Marner is going to be the line I prefer here. Do what you want with Zach Hyman. I keep him on some lineups. I don't keep him on in some other ones. I don't think there's going to be like that scary of a 5-on-5 matchup here for the Matthews line or really the Tavares line. They both worked Columbus last game, but they had the benefit of last change here. Columbus is going to have the benefit of last change. Guessing Foligno sees some time against Matthews and Marner with Jenner, but Columbus isn't a team that really hard matches all that much. It'll be Jenner, Foligno, and then Dubois and Atkinson, I would guess, against Matthews. And same thing against Tavares. Those two will probably go up against each other. So then maybe you could argue that Nyquist and Bjorkstrand are in a pretty good spot against the Toronto depth. This is another game. Like, this one has major stakes to it. I just wish I really, really loved something. And I kind of don't. So that's a little bit worrisome for me. Because I'm kind of running out of games except for the most popular game, which is the last one. Right now, I have... Actually, my highest exposed player in this game right now is Freddy Anderson, it looks like. Outside of him, I've got... man, I got to scroll down here. Outside of him, I have some of this Matthews line. Looking at about 10% of Matthews, Marner, and Hyman. And I think I prefer them. It's kind of wherever Marner goes, because if it's Marner-Tavares, then I really like that duo, Marner-Matthews, obviously very dynamic. I think they had over 20 shot attempts in their only game so far together. So I would look for them to continue generating at a pretty high clip. Jackets are... oh, yeah, good point. No Muzzin. Really scary injury. So Leafs won't have him. That's probably another upgrade for the Blue Jackets. Yeah, I have no clue what the Muzzin injury is going to, like, how that's going to make the Leafs feel. That's one of those things where you look back and if the Leafs go on to lose the next two, then it's like, oh, well, the Muzzin injury, like, destroyed their psyche or whatever. And if they go on to win the next two, it's, oh, the Muzzin injury really pumped him up. They're doing it for him and stuff like that. Yeah, there's a couple punt options, I think, on Toronto. I listed CC in the cheat sheets. Justin Hall is also okay. 2,900 and 3K for those two guys. And then Tyson Barrie, I want to make sure before I kind of not trash him, but before I say I'm not really crazy about him. Yeah, he only played 18 minutes last game. He had 4 shots on goal in the first game, played 19 minutes, but that's really not that great for 5,100. So, again, for me, it's probably going to be, if I play Tyson Barrie, I'll just make sure to have one of Matthews or Marner or Tavares in that lineup, because if he gets there at that price, it would probably be because the power play does a little bit of work. On the other side, Savard getting a little bit of a price bump. 4,100, he's okay, but I would try it. If I'm playing Columbus D-men, I'm trying to get up to, at the very least, Seth Jones. I'll probably have more Seth Jones than a guy like Werenski, because they're essentially the same role. If there's a big ownership discrepancy, then yeah, you probably just take the lower guy if you're trying to do a tiebreaker between these two. I guess Seth Jones is about twice the ownership in our ownership projections, so there you go. This one's probably going to be maybe pretty tightly contested. It has been so far. Tavares had a ton of chances last game. He could have easily had a hat trick. And the Leafs finally broke through. Matthews and Marner were scary, but Columbus is a pretty good defensive team. Before we get to the last game of the slate, just want to talk quick about fantasy football. So, we've got all this daily fantasy stuff, as you guys know, on the site, but we've also got a tab on Awesemo.com for fantasy football. And I'm going to pull this up for you guys. If you haven't seen the new homepage already, the tech, the designers, this is the other live show that's going on right now, MLB Strategy. They did a great job with this. So, Awesemo Fantasy Football. We're excited to bring you the inaugural season-long fantasy football and best ball draft kit. You can use some of the same tools that have helped make Alex Awesemo the number one DFS player in the world. So we've got this package to help you revolutionize the way you prepare for your fantasy drafts. It's only $30, and it's essentially free because new FFPC members get $35 credit when they sign up for the Awesemo draft kit. So the way you get to that is just go in here, click on the draft kit. You can see the membership options. You can just do the Awesemo NFL package, and that will get you DFS and season-long stuff. And it'll help you dominate your leagues this season. So if only, the one complaint I have is, can someone just make me remember my waivers? I usually check out on season-long, like 3 weeks in, unless I just have a sick team. But yeah, pretty cool stuff. We're moving into the season-long fantasy industry as well as DFS. So, last game on the slate. Flames, Jets. 3 implied total for the Flames. That's a good comment, Dylan. 2.4 implied total for the Jets. Cam Talbot and Connor Hellebuck going to be your likely starters. Haven't heard much about Line, I want to say. Scheifele was doubtful. I think I saw that yesterday. For this one, would it be the biggest surprise in the world if one of them was able to come back and play? I suppose it wouldn't be. You would have to plan for that in advance, though, if you're going to do it. My plan as of now, and it's probably not going to change by the time we get to lock, is just to make my lineups like those two are not going to play. And that means we've got Connor, Kopp, and Wheeler as your top line for the Jets. Eakin, Perreault, and Ehlers. Roslovic did get some time with Eakin and Ehlers last game. I can't remember if it started that way or if he got bumped up to that line during the game. Yeah, that's a good point, Kellen. Perreault didn't play a full game either. I haven't heard anything about him. So this being a really late start, maybe we get some news in the next couple hours. We might get a better idea of who's actually playing or not playing for the Jets. Perreault is a question mark, though. Roslovic, what you could do is just put in Roslovic in Perreault's spot, and then once we get to game time, you at least know you can swap down to Perreault if it ends up being Eakin, Ehlers, and Perreault. So that's one way to combat that situation. You're not sacrificing too much salary, just $200 between Roslovic and Matthew Perreault. Flames are chalk. Flames, not the Flames line, I thought. Now, Flames 1 is pretty cheap, and so it looks like a good value. I don't think the Kopp, Wheeler, Connor line is going to be that big of a slouch defensively. I think they got this series is 2-1 Flames. So this is the 4th game they've played. And they went up against Monahan, Gaudreau, and Lindholm. And that line, even though they got there, they got they got a power play goal and an empty netter. And I think that's going to deceive some people on Calgary 1 maybe being are looking like a better play than what they were. It's not like they dominated possession at 5-on-5. The Cop Wheeler Connor line, I think, had better numbers than them by a pretty good margin last game. So I think I'm more on Winnipeg 1 here. Pretty decent chance that Winnipeg 1's my top stack. Now they're popular too, so I'm not saying anything outrageous. But I like Winnipeg 1 if they're going to be lower owned than Calgary 1. And then this Backlund, Kachuk, Mangiapane line, like Winnipeg just doesn't have an answer for them if this is going to be their top 6. So I would imagine the second and third lines see the most time against Backlund and Kachuk and Mangiapane, and that's probably not going to work out well for them too often. They were dominant last game. They've been very good this entire series. People leave off Mangiapane, so I don't worry about the full stack as much. In terms of ownership, it's looking like I'm about double the field on Calgary 2, and I'm just pretty low on Calgary 1. It's kind of like Washington 1, although you can't really compare Philadelphia 1 and this Winnipeg 1 to each other. Like, that's pretty insulting to Philadelphia 1. A lot of my Calgary 1 lineups are getting filtered out. So I'm crunching out a lot of them, but they're not ending up being the ones I want to play because they're just like there's very clear combos that go with Calgary 1, and that makes it more likely that you're going to get duped. And I try to avoid getting duped a lot. And so they're not really going to help me out in that regard. So a little wary of playing Calgary 1. Obviously a scary fade if 20%, 25% is going to have the Calgary 1 stack. I think I'm pretty comfortable being less than half the field. I'm close to a fourth of the field right now on Calgary 1. And if we get another ownership update and they go up even higher, I'll have even less of them. So kind of planting my flag on Calgary 2. And I'm just hoping that not only does Calgary 1 disappoint, but they disappoint because they're on the ice against Winnipeg 1. And I think this line has potential to be pretty solid at 5-on-5 if they get a decent sample here. So Cobb, Connor, and Wheeler, one of my higher exposed stacks. And then if you want to add Pionk on there, that is perfectly fine. At 4,800, not the best peripheral guy, but good price. And I think overall a pretty good situation. And the best part about the Cop line is, not only are they, like, they're just not going to play against Backlund, Kachuk, and Mangiapane. They need to generate offense. And if you need to generate offense, you don't go up against Backlund and Kachuk when you can avoid it. So, it's kind of a leverage play, I guess, playing a bunch of Winnipeg 1. What I suppose I could do is it's a similar price range to Calgary 1. So if I've got a couple decent variations that are low owned, let's say I'm always thinking about like late swapping and seeing how you can give yourself a better chance to win first and not compete with a ton of your own lineups if you're 150 maxing. So let's say like a low owned, let's say I have 10% of St. Louis 1 and they're 4 or 5% owned or something like that, and they go nuts in this game. Well, I could take, like, if all my combos are with Winnipeg 1 and St. Louis 1, I could take a couple of those and try to move it around so I get a Calgary 1 stack or something in there, because you're already above the field on the St. Louis stack. You can see ahead of you if people have guys, if there's a bunch of teams probably that have Winnipeg 1. So there's going to be opportunities for that. That's why I love keeping some options open on the late slate or on the late night hammer game. So I've been happy that a lot of the ownership is been on like the Edmonton and Chicago games, because if you're being diligent, if you're paying attention to what you need to compete in tournaments throughout the day, I think you're probably already ahead of a good chunk of the field that aren't paying attention, aren't swapping, aren't willing to swap, played their utility guy in the first game. There's a bunch of things that people do that aren't optimal. So I think this is a really good opportunity to go heavy on Winnipeg 1, and that's what it looks like I'm going to be doing. Again, you can always swap if you don't like how things are going, if you all of a sudden think that Calgary 1's the better play, or if Line A comes in and ruins the lines, or Scheifele somehow ends up playing and ruins the lines, you can swap over to Calgary 2 or Calgary 1 or Calgary 3, play some Milan Lucic. God, that guy. He did have a goal last game. He also got one taken away, and then he almost kicked one in after whiffing on a shot. So that's the kind of thing you get with Milan Lucic these days for $2,500. Gio at $5,900. One of my highest owned defensemen. Actually, my second highest owned defenseman right now. I think I've got a little bit more Pionk, but that's just because of the amount of Winnipeg 1 I like tonight. Gustafsson, I think if you're playing Calgary 1, he's perfectly fine. If you're not playing Calgary 1, I probably wouldn't be looking to one-off Gustafsson too much. Single entry stack. Oof. I like Philadelphia 1 a lot, and then Winnipeg 1. Not saying you have to play those two together. That might be a popular combo. But yeah, I like Philly 1 to shut down Washington 1, as well as do some offensive damage themselves. Wow, look at that. Nolan dropping the goods in chat. So go read up about Milan Lucic's personal life if you want to go check that out, as well as Lucic's personal life. Keep an eye out for what's going on in the NHL Slack chat. We'll share news, line combos, all that as they come in for each of the games. Another long day of hockey. I see a bunch of you already did, but if you guys could hit the like button, that really helps us out a ton, helps us grow the channel. If you want to find all our shows on podcast, they have separate channels, as well as the main channel, Awesemo Daily Fantasy. It's on Apple Podcasts / iTunes, Spotify, Castbox. There's a Podcast Addict. There's a ton of different ones that we're on. So basically, wherever you listen to podcasts, we'll be there. And we do have separate channels now if you don't want to have your feed clogged up with PGA, NBA, NHL all in one. You can just subscribe to the individual sport handles as well. A ton of stuff going on for shows. Again, today feels like we went from no sports to just never-ending sports, just 24/7. So what do we got today? Man, it's like 5 shows a day for the next few weeks. This is crazy. We had NBA strategy this morning. We had MLB strategy. I believe that's still going on. This show, NBA Live Before Lock, is at 4 Eastern with Laffy and Josh. And then MLB Live Before Lock with Chris Spags and the man Alex Baker. So if that's not enough for you, there's an MMA card on Saturday. Jason Floyd and Pete Rogers are going to break it down tonight. They'll have a Live Before Lock on Saturday as well. You will not be cheated on free content. So, one more thing. If you're complaining about the ads on YouTube, we don't have any control over that. So that's usually a glitch for a few users. I don't know why that would be. But yeah, we can't really do anything about that. So you're just going to have to click through some ads. If there's 10 on one show, that's definitely on YouTube. But anyways, subscribe to the channel, like the show, and I'll see you guys in Slack or DM me if you got any questions. Good luck, everybody.